Okay, so the last thing we want to become is a church that pursues an exhaustive list of rules and regulations. But sometimes it's important to remind ourselves of a few things. Around here, we're more interested in giving a cold cup of water to a thirsty person than we are in drinking it ourselves. Around here, we're more interested in rubbing shoulders with people who have made plenty of mistakes than we are in standing next to people who pretend they haven't. In other words, the prostitute wins, the Pharisee does not. Around here, we're more interested in following an unpredictable Savior than we are in crawling after the expected and the routinely predictable. Around here, we're more interested in equipping you to live in the real world, a world that God created and loves, than we are in creating a Christian bubble. And, just to be clear, we'll gladly search for one lost, over 99 found, every time. Around here, we're more interested in growing big people than we are in growing a big church. Around here, we're more interested in helping you discover a life of worship than we are in furthering a musical genre. And finally, around here, we're more interested in walking through life together than we are in watching each other from a safe distance. And we're very interested in showing you how this works. Friends, we are a community that is guided by these biblical values. They will guide every decision we make, every relationship we nurture, and every plan we conceive. This is the road we're choosing to travel, and you are invited to take the journey with us, because we'd love it if you joined us.
Today I want to share some information that came to me via pain. Have you ever gone through stuff in your life that there was a lesson in there somewhere when you experienced pain? Anybody? I have with me. So just not that long ago, maybe, I don't know, a week or so ago, maybe a week and a half ago, maybe less than that, I was outside our house, and we've recently gotten a puppy. Maybe, I don't know, she's 6 months old or so. And she is prone to eating wood. Thank God that it's not wood in the house, but it's wood outside the house. She likes trees, she likes sticks, and she doesn't just fetch sticks, she eats sticks. And I thought she was a beaver there for a minute, because I think beavers eat sticks, but she's a dog. So one day she was, I thought, eating too much wood, and I decided to get the wood out of her mouth. Well, she has 4 legs and I have 2. I know those legs are much shorter than mine, but she still has 4 legs and I have 2. So I started to chase our new dog to try to get the wood out of her mouth, because I didn't want her to choke or something on a chunk of wood, and then I'd have 6 angry children at their daddy, because our dog died. We didn't want that to happen. So I started chasing the dog around the yard. So I got really close to the dog, and I accidentally stepped on her. I was so close. And then she yelped. A dog yelped. Well, it startled me so bad, I jumped as I'm running full speed, and I lost my balance. Now, if you can picture this, our property, my kids are laughing at me right now, if you can't hear that in the background, our property is sloped, so you know what's happening next. So I take my leg off. Well, now I'm on one leg. In a fraction of a second, I lose my balance, and I begin to fall. And my world spins in front of my eyes, not because I'm dying, but because I'm spinning. Could I have these on, please, these lights? I forgot to ask that. So I'm spinning and rolling down the hill, and then all of a sudden I realize that gravity is not my best friend. So I'm falling, and for some reason I can't stop. I mean, I am rolling fast. I'm hurting myself. I feel ribs, whatever happening there, and I'm in pain, but I can't stop. And then as I'm rolling, one time I see Tammy. Tammy's in the pool. And she's looking up at me with eyes as big as saucers, and I can only imagine what she's thinking as I'm rolling. what in the world is my husband doing? So I hear, John, John, like this, and there's panic in her voice. And then I get closer to the pool because I'm rolling on the side of the house where the pool is. And I know that there's a pretty big slope at the end of the hill between the hill and the pool. And I'm thinking, oh my goodness, I'm going to fall into the hole. And there's a lot of rocks there. So somehow, some way, gravity became my friend. And I stopped. And I learned a lesson that day that I ought not chase a dog with 4 legs. Now, maybe a dog with 2 legs I could win. But this dog's got 4 working legs, and I lost that race. Still have hurt ribs, and whine. But I learned a lesson. There's a so you know, I try to find metaphors in everything, because there's lessons in everything if you really look for lessons in everything, right? So I'm thinking, what lesson is there that I look like a fool? And if there was a video camera on there, I know we would have won the $100,000 prize at America's Funniest Home Videos. I just know, because I'm seeing myself rolling downhill, how ridiculous I must have looked. And Tammy's like this 169-pound guy now, thank you very much, rolling down the hill, you know what I'm saying, looking like a total idiot. Then I began to pray. You say, John, you're getting a little wacky now with your praying thing, but there's a lesson here. And we're going to spend some time in Ecclesiastes here today. Here's where my lesson is. So my experience of rolling down this hill is like a metaphor of people who chase things that they really don't get satisfied with the things they're trying to chase. They run and they run and they run and they always run after stuff, and it consistently and always eludes them, and then they end up falling flat on their face, and many times they get back up again and chase the same 4-legged dog all over again. Now, in my studies and my observations, I've seen and read about people all over the world that are chasing things that ultimately don't satisfy. Ultimately don't satisfy. They go their whole life and realize that it's a waste of time. How many people have you met in their 80s that they look back and say, you know, if I could do it all over again, I would do things so differently. See, that's what I felt like when I eventually stopped rolling down that hill. I said, I thought to myself, why did I think I could even catch a dog with 4 legs and I only have 2? Over in Ecclesiastes 2, verse 10, we're going to go through a large part of that chapter. It says, all my eyes desired, I did not refuse them. I did not withhold myself from any pleasure. Now, King Solomon was a pretty rich dude. I mean, his kingdom went from Iraq all the way over to Egypt. So he knew some stuff. He had a lot of stuff. In fact, he lived just under 1,000 years prior to Christ and that time frame. He had Scripture says he had 12,000 horses and 1,400 chariots. 12,000 horses and 1,400 chariots. He had 7. This blows my mind, but he had 700 wives and 300, let's call them girlfriends. 700 wives. Just the rings, to the engagement rings. They don't have those then, but man, they're talking a lot of money. So, can you imagine, guys? One guy, I mean, there's this show on TV, Sister Wives. This Mormon guy, he's got, I think, 4 or 5 wives. I'm thinking, man, you are nuts. Don't get me started. That's another sermon. So Solomon had the ability to accumulate wealth. He really understood at certain points of his life that chasing after stuff that don't matter isn't worth it. But there was a time when he didn't know that. So Ecclesiastes 2, beginning in the first verse, from the Message says, I said to myself, let's go for it. experiment with pleasure, and just have a good time. But there was nothing to it, nothing but smoke. What do you think of the fun-filled life? Insane, insane. My verdict on the pursuit of happiness, who needs it? With the help of a bottle of wine and all the wisdom I could muster, I tried my level best to penetrate the absurdity of life. I wanted to get a handle on anything useful we mortals might do during the years that we spend on this earth. Verse 4. Oh, I did great things, built houses, planted vineyards, designed gardens and parks, and planted a variety of fruit trees in them. I made pools of water to irrigate the groves of trees, and I bought slaves, male and female, they had slavery back then, who had children, giving me even more slaves. Then I acquired large herds and flocks, larger than any before me in Jerusalem. I piled up silver and gold, loot from kings and kingdoms. I gathered a chorus of singers to entertain me with song, and most exquisite of all pleasures, voluptuous maidens for my bed. Verse 9. Oh, how I prospered! I left all my predecessors in the dust, just far behind me. What's more, I kept a clear head through it all. Everything I wanted, I took. I never said no to myself. This is King Solomon. He says, I gave in to every impulse, held back nothing. I sucked the marrow of pleasure out of every task, my reward to myself for a hard day's work. Verse 11. Then I took a good look at everything I've done, looked at all the sweat and hard work. But when I looked, I saw nothing but smoke. Smoke and spitting in the wind. There was nothing to any of it. Nothing. Verse 12. And then I took a hard look at what's smart and what's stupid. What's left to do after you've been king, and now that's a hard act to follow. You just do what you can, and that's it. But I did see that it's better to be smart than stupid. Just as light is better than darkness. Even so, though the smart ones see where they're going and the stupid ones grope in the dark, they're all the same in the end. One fate for all, and that's it. I'm in Ecclesiastes chapter 2, verse number 15. When I realized that my fate's the same as the fools, I had asked myself, so why bother being wise? It's all smoke. Nothing but smoke. The smart and the stupid both disappear out of sight. In a day or two, they're both forgotten. Yes, both the smart and the stupid die, and that's it. He says, I hate life. As far as I can see, what happens on the earth is a bad business. It's smoke and spitting in the wind.